Boy, sure is hot. I could go for a soda. Oh, drink me. Must be new. You know, that tastes pretty good. Oh, this is just perfect. I've jumped into modern fantasy and now look at me. I fell for the oldest trick in the book. Drink me soda. Well, I suppose it could be worse. At least here in modern fantasy, I'm sure to meet charming characters, visit far-fetched worlds, and encounter endless eccentricities. I'll try not to get myself stepped on, run over, or licked. Beat it, Fido! Okay. I'm gonna duck in here out of the traffic. That's better. Modern fantasy often includes extraordinary worlds of miniature people. Not everyone is like me. Some small characters take the form of folkloric sprites, elves, trolls, gnomes, or leprechauns. Readers may come across tiny towns hidden within the real world, or find that the characters live in wee worlds all their own. Detail-oriented readers are captivated by the complexity of the little societies found in stories like The Borrowers and Gulliver's Travels. However, modern fantasy isn't just about little people. Authors include all sorts of eccentric characters and put them in preposterous situations. Cats or people may fly, eggs may hatch into dinosaurs or dragons, and you may even find lizards playing guitars on TV. Some authors first place their characters in situations in otherwise normal settings so that they appear more believable to the reader. Then, they take the story beyond reality to just plain ridiculous, as in Mary Poppins, James and the Giant Peach, or Pippi Longstocking. Other authors of modern fantasy take a similar approach, but instead of creating impossible characters, they invent a setting that's significantly different from the world that we know. The challenge is in making the story believable to the reader. They usually begin by placing the characters in a familiar setting, and then transport them to an extraordinary world. For example, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory begins with a common family living in a plain and simple home, and moves to a magical chocolate factory with Oompa Loompas and chocolate rivers. Literary lore... Can I please get a hand? Whoa. Thank you! As I was saying, literary lore is another kind of modern fantasy story. It includes modern literary fairy tales, which have qualities similar to folk tales. These stories may be set in the days of kings, queens, and beautiful princesses. They may have languages that reflect the manners of the period. And they could even have your everyday once-upon-a-time beginnings and happily ever after endings. The difference between literary lore and folk tales is that folk tales have been passed down from one generation of storytellers to another, whereas modern fairy tales are written by a specific author. Hans Christian Andersen, who wrote the familiar tales of Thumbelina, the Ugly Duckling, and the Princess and the Pea, included folkloric elements that made his stories seem like traditional folk tales. Fractured tales are a type of literary lore which mixes up traditional tales in a number of ways. Unconventional revisions give the story a humorous spin. The true story of the Three Little Pigs tells the tale from the funny perspective of the Big Bad Wolf. You know, I've always wondered why he wanted to blow their houses down. Why not just rent a bulldozer? In these modified stories, details of the setting, characters, or plot are changed to make a familiar story noticeably different. Old stories are often placed in settings that are more modern. One author relocated Goldilocks and the Three Bears from the country to a big city. Gender reversals are also common. For example, one author turned Jack and the Beanstalk into Kate and the Beanstalk, and Sleeping Beauty into Sleeping Bobby. Fractured tales are also altered when authors set a tale in a culture that's different from the original version of the story. This is done to open the plot to a diverse population, as well as to give children a wide knowledge of other cultures. For example, Tam and Cam is a Vietnamese version of the story known in America as Cinderella. The story known as Stone Soup has been written as Cactus Soup, set in Mexico. Authors of modern fantasy, like all fantasy, exercise readers' imaginations by dreaming up people, places, or events that could not occur in the real world. You can find them in the fiction section of your library or at your local bookstore. Now, I enjoy reading modern fantasy, but frankly, I'd prefer to be my normal size. There has to be a book about reversing the effect of that potion around here somewhere. Hey, can I get another hand, please? Let's go check out the spells and sorcery section.